Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Thank you for listening to Your Working Life, my podcast series featuring thought leaders in the career and personal growth arena. Now, I know that you spend a significant portion of your life at work, so I'm on a mission to provide you with tools, inspiration, and resources so you can enjoy your career and love your life. And I'm so thrilled to have my very special guest on today. Marci Shimoff is with me. Marci, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Caroline. So happy to be here.
Oh, I am delighted that you are with me. I am a longtime fan. I've devoured all of your books, and I want to tell our listening audience all about you. Marci is a #1 New York Times best-selling author and world-renowned transformational teacher. Her books include the international bestsellers Love for No Reason and Happy for No Reason. She's also the woman's face of the biggest self-help book phenomenon in history, as co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Women's Soul series, with book sales of more than 15 million copies worldwide in 33 languages, no less. Marci is one of the best-selling female nonfiction authors of all time. She's also a featured teacher in the film and book sensation The Secret, and Marci is dedicated to helping people live more empowered and joy-filled lives, which is exactly why I'm delighted that you're with us today, Marci. Thank you so much. So I would love to focus on Happy for No Reason, one of your amazing books. It's an international bestseller. Why are people so drawn to this book, Marci?
Well, it's a great question. You know, Caroline, happiness is hot these days.
Yes, it
And
is.
it's hot. It's hot, I think, for two main reasons. One is that we are unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
We actually, depression is rampant, unhappiness is rampant. 1 out of 4 women in modern culture is on antidepressants. We have more than we've ever had, and yet we are actually unhappier than we were 40 or 50 years ago. So we really have a need. But the second reason that happiness is so hot these days is that for the first time in human history, science has actually cracked the happiness code. That means we know what it takes for people to be happier. And as far as I'm concerned, that should be headline news. I mean, here we are. Happiness is the one thing that people have wanted as from time immemorial, throughout all cultures. We want to be happy, and we now know how to get there. So I'm thrilled that I'm able to share things. And today I'm sure that we're going to get to give some really specific things that everybody can do immediately in your life to be happier.
Exactly. And I want to unpack those action steps because I know my audience is really motivated to put this into practice, and you've got some great information to share. But Marci, let's talk about you for a minute. Were you born happy, or did you have to
Oh
work at it?
my gosh. There's a saying, we teach what we most want to learn.
Yeah.
I was born unhappy.
Okay.
I came out of the womb with what a existential angst. And I did what I think most people do in their 20s. And that is, I set goals for myself. And I thought, if I achieve these goals, that's all I need. And then I'll be happy. You know, we have this myth in our society that success will bring us happiness. And unfortunately, it doesn't. I had a turning point moment in June of 1998 when I had everything that I wanted on that list of the things that I'd made when I was in my 20s to be happy. And I was, at the time, in June of 1998, I had 3 books at the same time on the New York Times bestseller list. I just finished giving a talk to 8,000 people. I had autographed 5,432 books. My client had to have a massage therapist on hand to massage my hand every half hour so I didn't get carpal tunnel. I felt like an author rock star. But I remember after signing that very last book, I went up to my hotel room. I looked out at the beautiful view that this room had, and I plopped onto my bed and I burst into tears.
Mm.
And I burst into tears because I realized that I thought I had everything I thought I wanted to be happy, and it still wasn't. I still felt empty inside. And that's when I started this heavy duty research into what it would take to make me happier, to make you happier, to make anybody happier. And there's great news. And that is that, there are things to do. I applied them in my own life. And I'd say I went from about a D+ in happiness to about an A or an A-. I'm still always working on it. And I've since shared it with tens of thousands of people, and it really works universally. So that's what's so exciting about this.
Bravo. Good to hear that story. Okay, so let's talk about this. There really is science and research behind happiness. So, what's the most exciting thing that you've learned with all of this research?
Well, there's a lot of research, but out of all that research, the most exciting piece to me is that we all have what's called a happiness set point.
Yeah.
And it's like a thermostat setting. And what it means is that no matter what happens to us, whether it's good or bad, we will tend to hover around that set point. So, for example, if you win the lottery, would you be any happier? Well, most people would say, yeah, of course I'd be happy. That'd be great. In fact, you would be happier for a few months.
Mm.
But within about a year, you would return to your original happiness set point. And strangely, the opposite is also true, that when tragedies happen, you will generally recover within about a year or so. And so the happiness set point is the king of it all. It's the key to everything. And the set point is 50% genetic. You're born with that part.
Hmm.
It's 10% your circumstances. Now, that's just a very small piece of the whole pie, and yet that's what most of us focus all of our energy on. And then the other 40% is our habits of thoughts and behavior. And that's what we can really influence to change our happiness set point. And I'm going to take it a step further and say that there are progressive scientists in a field called epigenetics. Among them is a man named Bruce Lipton, who wrote The Biology of Belief. And they say that even our genes, even our DNA can be influenced when we change these habits of thoughts and behavior. So what that means is that up to 90% of our happiness set point can be changed by changing these specific habits of happiness.
See, I love to hear that because it gives us control, right? It gives us our power back to say that it's not circumstantial, right? We do have control about how we pursue being happy. Is that accurate?
It is absolutely accurate. And as I mentioned, only 10% is those circumstances. And we're spending our life force trying to control the circumstances when really we can turn our attention to developing these happiness habits. And
Beautiful.
that's what will make changes.
Very nice, very nice. Now, Marcy, I know while you were researching for the book, you interviewed, gosh, 100 people who were unconditionally happy, and you called them your happy 100, and you saw patterns emerge. What did you learn from the happy 100?
Yeah, so I've since interviewed thousands of people,
I
and I've
bet.
found that there are really specific, the only difference between happy people and everybody else is that they have habits that are happiness habits, I call them. And there are 21 of them, and they broke down into 7 main categories. And Caroline, would you like me to just go through these 7
Yes, that would be
categories?
beautiful. Thank you for this lesson.
Okay, great. So, and if you've got a pen and paper, I suggest you write these down, because I'm going to ask you to take a look at your own life and see where are you strong and where are you weak, because I'm sure that you're going to have some of these categories that you're already doing really well in, but some that are your Achilles heel. Now, I found that people have a hard time remembering 7 of anything. So I've created an analogy, a metaphor I called building your inner home for happiness.
Ah, good.
So there are seven main elements or components of a home, and they are a foundation, 4 corner pillars, a roof, and a garden.
Okay.
So here's how that relates to building your inner home for happiness. The foundation is taking responsibility for your happiness. What that means is not waiting for something to happen to be happier.
Yeah.
Or not blaming your circumstances, or not complaining, not being a victim in life, but instead being a creator in life. So
Hmm.
that's the first step, is to really lay the foundation, is to take responsibility, be a creator of your life and of your happiness. Then the 4 corner pillars relate to the mind, the heart, the body, and the soul. So the mind has to do with, what are your thought patterns? Do you have the thoughts that support happiness? And if not, there are specific things you can do to build new neural pathways for happiness in your brain. The heart has to do with how open you are to love. Do you live in gratitude? Do you experience kindness? Do you give kindness? Are you altruistic? Do you forgive easily? All the qualities of a loving heart. The body has to do with the biology of happiness. Do you have the chemicals of happiness? Do you have enough serotonin, oxytocin, the neurotransmitters, endorphins? And if you don't, there are specific things that you can do to biologically help your happiness set point. Then the spirit has to do with how connected are you to spirit? How much do you feel a oneness or a connection to the greater power or energy of the universe? Then the roof of our inner home for happiness has to do with a lot about what you talk about, Caroline, and that has to do with your purpose or your passion in life. Are you living an inspired life? Are you doing work that you love? That is a key, one of the 7 main keys to happiness.
Excellent.
And then finally, the garden has to do with who we surround ourselves with. Are you surrounded by a bunch of weeds or toxic people? Or are you surrounded by the roses and gardenias of life, the people who are supporting you in living a life of joy and happiness?
Oh, that's great. What a good illustration. I love it. And it's so relatable. I think each of us have a mental picture now that we can really wrap our brains around and think about how we approach happiness. That's
Yeah.
great.
And what I suggest that people do is take a look at those 7 areas, and on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, rate how are you doing in each of those areas. And then wherever you're the weakest, that's where you want to start, because you'll get the most result for your investment of time by starting wherever your Achilles heel is.
I love it. Marcy, you said something that really resonated with me. You talked about taking responsibility and being creators of life happiness. And Marshall Goldsmith is an executive coach who is very well renowned. And he talks about our great Western disease of it'll get better when, right? It'll get better when I find the job or when I win the lottery or when the kids are in school, whatever your unique situation is. And I love both of you, how you weave this together to say, what are we waiting for? It can get
Yes.
better now, right?
Yes, and by the way, I love Marshall Goldsmith as well.
Yes.
And I call it the happiness myth. And for me,
Mm-hmm.
it's the myth of I'll be happier when. I'll be happier when I get a better job, when I have when I get married or when I get divorced, or the ever popular, I'll be happier when I lose 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And it's just we know from the research that on the happiness set point that it's just not true. You will be happier for only a short period of time, and then you will soon be acclimated to that new thing, and you will return to your original happiness set point. So that's why this is so important.
Beautiful. So, Marcy, you're one of the teachers in the mega phenomenon hit The Secret, which is all about the law of attraction. So, what's
Yes.
the connection here between happiness and law of attraction?
So the law of attraction is based on the idea that everything in the universe is energy, and science is actually showing this, that everything is energetic. And when you raise your energetic vibration, you're able to attract to you greater things, because we attract to us based on the energy of our thoughts, our words, our feelings, and our actions. And so happiness is a higher energetic vibration, and it's the way in which we attract better things to us. So let me just read to you a couple of sentences out
Great.
of the book The Secret that Rhonda Byrne wrote. And here's what she writes. She says, I want to let you in on a secret to the secret. The shortcut to anything that you want in your life is to be and feel happy now. It's the fastest way to bring money or anything else you want into your life. Set your thoughts and your frequency on happiness. So that's why what we find is that happier people are healthier. They live on average 9 years longer. They have better relationships. They are more successful. And on average, they earn over $1 million more over the course of their lifetime.
Wow.
So happiness has a lot of good fringe benefits.
It certainly does. It certainly does. Okay, so one of the things that you tell people is don't believe everything you think. Now, I
Yeah.
love that, but what does that mean?
So we have 60,000 thoughts a day.
Wow.
And for the average person, 80% of those are negative. It's called the negativity bias. Now, it's natural. Don't feel bad about yourself for having it, because that's just adding more negativity. That's
We don't
um,
want that.
we don't want that. We inherited this tendency from our caveman ancestors who needed to remember the negatives or they would die. We
Mm.
no longer need that tendency to the extreme that we have it. So we tend to, if you get 10 compliments in a day and 1 criticism, what do you remember at the end of the day?
Well, I'd remember the compliment.
Good for you. All right, you passed the happiness test. most people will remember the criticism.
Wow.
And so what we need to do is reverse this tendency so that we are remembering more of the positives. And what's interesting is that it takes 20 seconds for us to actually register a positive in the brain so that it becomes more of a brain state. It becomes more of a real, it becomes, you create a new neural pathway. So this is why research has found that if you at the end of a day, you write down 5 things you were grateful for that day, that's causing you to focus for at least 20 seconds on gratitude. Within 1 month of doing that, you will raise your happiness set point. So
That's
that's
worth
a
doing.
very, very simple technique that you can do to raise your happiness set point. I've got another one. I told you at the beginning, I wanted to give you some practical tools.
Please.
Can I give you one of my very favorite practical tools that you
Yes,
can do
please.
anytime? Now, I got this from a group called the Institute of Heart Math. They're the world's leading researchers on the heart and happiness and how it affects our health and our well-being. And what they found that when you're angry for just 5 minutes during the day, that it can suppress your immune system for up to 6 hours. But when you're feeling love and ease and happiness for 5 minutes during the day, it can strengthen your immune system for up to 6 hours. So I'm going to give you a technique called the inner ease technique that I learned from them. Now, it's not going to take 5 minutes. It'll just take 2, but it will move you into from what's called the stress response, which most of us are very familiar with living in. You're stuck in traffic or you're in a meeting that you're frustrated and you are in the stress response. And it'll move you into what's called the love response, which is a different physiological state. It's not just some airy-fairy idea. It's actually a physiological state that has different brain activity, different heart rhythms, and different biochemistry. So, Carolyn, I'm going to ask you on this to be my guinea pig. Is that all right?
Please, please, let's do it.
Okay, and then I'm going to ask everybody at home to do this along with us. So please don't just listen to us doing it. Please join us. And
Okay.
it's 3 simple steps. Now, you can do this with your eyes opened or closed, but I'm going to ask you if you're able to close your eyes because it goes a little deeper.
Okay.
So if you would close your eyes if you're able. And the first step is to simply place the palm of your hand over your heart. Now, this simple act of putting your hand over your heart starts the flow of a chemical called oxytocin. And oxytocin is dubbed the love hormone because it's what we have more of when we feel bonded or connected with each other. Some mothers who are breastfeeding have oxytocin, or when we make love, we have lots of oxytocin. But right now, just with your hand on your heart, you're stimulating the flow of oxytocin in your body. Now, the second step is to imagine that you're breathing in and out through the center of your heart. So you can picture that or you can feel that you're breathing into your heart and out of your heart. You're inhaling into your heart and you're exhaling out of your heart at your own rhythm. But each time you inhale, just picture or feel that inhale going into your heart and your exhale out of your heart. And now the third step is on each inhale, I'd like you to imagine that you're breathing in love and ease. Now your exhales can just be normal, but on each inhale, imagine yourself breathing into your heart love, breathing in ease, and exhaling normally. And when you think of love and ease, you can either imagine a situation in which you feel those, or you can just say those words internally and it will have a similar effect. So breathing deep into your heart, love and ease, and exhaling normally. And one last time, breathing into the heart, love and ease. And on that exhale, you can slowly open your eyes if they were closed, and you can take your hand away and just notice, if you will, what shifts you have in your body, how you feel different emotionally. And Caroline, I asked you to be my guinea pig. So
Yes.
can you
Oh,
just
my
tell me how
dear.
you feel any different now
This
than you
was,
did this?
I do. I just hopped off a plane yesterday, so I have that, you know, airplane posture, which is not great. And I could just feel my shoulders relax. I could feel my neck lengthen. It was lovely. It was like a massage and a
And
mental massage at that.
how do you feel any different emotionally?
I feel lighter, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. So all of these are symptoms of being in the love response.
Hmm.
Some people will feel more grounded or calm or balanced or centered. Some people may even have a sensation of warmth in their heart. all of these are symptoms of being in the love response. And now here's the thing, doing it once is just a nice experience. It will not create any lasting change, but here's what will. If you do this twice a day for the next 2 weeks, you will start to make that more and more your default state, the love response, your default state. And that's what you want. You want to habituate this. So, and it's easy. I do this while I'm standing in line at the grocery store or while I'm sitting on the phone talking to somebody. Nobody has to even know that you're doing it. So what I say is use your own life as an experiment, try it out and see what happens.
Oh, Marci, that's beautiful. And it's something all of us can do. That is great. What a gift. Thank you. So let's tie this together. Now we
Sure.
have this concept where some of us have read your book, others are reading your book, so we understand the tools. What are the keys to maintaining this?
Yes. So my suggestion is, as I mentioned, there are 21 habits that I list out in Happy for No Reason. And with them, I have all of the research that goes with it and a practice for each one. But here's the key. Don't do it all at once. Pick one thing. Remember earlier I said start where your Achilles heel is, where you're the weakest, and do one of those practices for that habit. Do it for 2 weeks until it becomes more and more a habit of yours, and then move on to the next one. And in this way, you will be raising your happiness set point in a very simple and doable style. And what I find is that people come back to me all the time if they come up to me at a talk and they say they heard me speak or they heard me on a podcast like this or they read Happy for No Reason, and they say within a couple of weeks I started to really notice a difference in my happiness level, and within a month everybody was commenting on how different I seemed.
Oh, that's exciting. Marci Shimoff, what a joy to have you on. And the happiness just exudes through our technology. And I thank you for your positive energy and these wonderful tools and resources. And I strongly recommend that our readers check out Happy for No Reason, as well as all of your other amazing books and resources. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And I invite everybody to go to my website, happyfornoreason.com, where they can get actually a free download of all of these 21 habits and exercises. So,
Perfect, perfect. And
yay.
I know we can also follow you on social media. Will you remind us how we can do that?
Marci Shimoff, fan.
All righty, there you
Facebook.
go. There you
Yep.
go. Marci, be well, my dear. Take good
Thank
care
you.
and thank you.
Thank you, and happiness to everyone.
And I want to thank you for tuning into your working life, where my goal is to help you design your career destiny so it doesn't happen by default. True career and life satisfaction is possible, and it's time to embrace what you love doing so you can do more of it. I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Take good care.